And, um, and I'm really, I would like to commend the organizers for creating such a balanced platform where everyone can speak their mind. You know, the public anger over the inequitable effects of technology, nationalism, and identity politics, to disdain for institutions and a fracturing of the rules-based international system. Whether that anger persists will depend less on any objective measure of inequality than on how inequality is perceived and managed. One important factor is the way global integration shifts the reference points people use to judge and compare their lives. Policy has a vital role to play in promoting greater equality. Our primary objective must be to promote pluralism, reconnect, and to reintegrate the hearts and minds of the people of Kashmir, especially after the removal of Articles 370 and 35A last year took place. In my last presentation to you, I provided a historic perspective of Kashmir, emphasizing that Kashmiri Hindus have a 5,000-year documented civilizational legacy, and 30 years back, they were forced to flee for their lives. As most of the people who know about Kashmir, as they understand, Kashmir was a peaceful paradise, not just for the decades that followed the Indian independence, but for centuries that preceded even the birth of Islam. Soon after being a part of independent India, we made a glorious leap into a promising future with liberal, secular, and democratic foundation. However, the most unfortunate thing that Jammu and Kashmir had, and let's face it, it is the common boundary with Pakistan. And Pakistan was fast growing into a military-controlled, military-driven Islamic theocracy ever since its partition from India. The 90s, as we all know and as we have been talking about, has witnessed a steady influx of radical elements from across the border, eventually leading a systematic destabilization of Jammu and Kashmir through violence inflicted by cross-border terrorism. I don't think anyone is going to dispute that. Even Pakistan has accepted that. And of course, you know that the result was that 350,000 Kashmiri Pandits had to leave their ancestral lands, and they became refugees in their own country. Now, we'll not go today, because of the topic that we have, we'll not go into some details, which I would love to go and you know, just go into the details why, you know, all these things happened. But today, I think, you know, we're just going to basically talk about the way forward and some of the things which are reported, like what has abrogation of Article 370 and its aftermath. What has it done? And this is what I was able to do some research and dig into this data. First of all, women, minorities, depressed sections, and LGBTQ population are given equal rights in political as well as economic affairs to determine their own destiny. I mean, this is reported that in the past year after the abrogation, you know, this is what has been happening. Democracy is not kept as a hostage to family politics, but is extended to the grassroots. Last year, it's reported that 80% of the voters exercised their franchise in the village and municipal council elections. Jammu and Kashmir is set to benefit from a 2 billion investment in tourism, health, education, and agriculture. Again, this is reported and this is what I was able to research. Host of business-friendly measures are put in place to take Jammu and Kashmir to 22nd position on ease of doing business in India. 60% of the families are covered under Ayushman Bharat, the universal health scheme. Breaking the vested network, over $10 million worth apples have been directly procured from the farmers who are now able to receive better price for their crops directly into their bank accounts. And you see in superstores in Gulf countries, you see a display of Kashmiri apples, and novel initiatives to promote Kashmiri saffron at a global scale has also been put in place. Over 500,000 students from Kashmir availed different scholarships from the government in the past year. 500,000. This is what I was able to research. 50 new educational institutions driven by 25,000 talented teachers are being set up, and total of 35,000 jobs in government and allied sectors are being created. 2 IT parks, one each in Jammu and Srinagar, would be coming up to provide more employment opportunities to youth. Over 500 projects worth over $80 million have been completed, and over 2,000 projects worth nearly $800 million are in the pipeline. Over 300,000 households have been provided access to electricity for the first time in 70 years. A right to information and free and compulsory education are now applied to Jammu and Kashmir. India recently announced the withdrawal of 10,000 of its paramilitary troops from J&K. Landlines, mobility connectivity has been restored. Broadband internet services have been restored. There remains no restriction to access internet and social media. So clearly, humanity's darkest hours are not in Jammu and Kashmir anymore, according to this report that I read. I personally strongly believe the way forward is that we have to crack down on extremism and terrorism. We cannot expect a surge in economic development and cultural progress unless we are not able to accomplish that. And when we make remarks, comments, our leaders, our very important people in Kashmir, like Mr. Former Chief Minister Farooq, when he speaks of his desperation, he just talks about subjugation by China and those kind of things, and then Imran Khan goes in the United Nations General Assembly, and then he raises the Kashmir issue, and even the the United Nations, it was very ugly, because the Secretary General later he said that address by Imran Khan was full of lies, misinformation, and warmongering. Those kind of things are an impediment in the way of our progress, our Kashmir again coming back to glory. I think if we are able to stop that, I'm sure that we could move forward. And I make a fervent appeal to my fellow Kashmiris that we must promote pluralism in this state so that all communities can live together, as they did before Pakistani trained militants created mayhem. I personally blame I blame Pakistani trained, militant. I blame Pakistan because unfortunately, Kashmir, as I have seen, it's a beautiful place. Uh, you know, you have saints, you have wonderful, amity and pluralism, and everything was there. But unfortunately, Kashmir has been turned into a hellhole. So in the post 370 era, I envision a society with greater accountability and an intolerance for the corrupt practices. A society where all Kashmiris, including the majority Muslim community and the minority Hindus, Sikhs, and Buddhists, they can fully enjoy the fruits of development and progress equitably. I think I'm going to conclude, with these remarks. And thank you very much again for giving this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Zutshi Saab. Again,
may I just interrupt?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Although Mr. Muzaffar Shah has not kept his word of sending me Babbu Gosha, but a young Kashmiri lady, Hina Mushtaq, who my wife and I treat as our daughter, she has sent me not only Babbu Gosha, she has sent me Vazwan today, consisting
Wonderful.
of Gostava, Rista, and Kebab.
Well, you have to share that, Justice Carter, you have to share that with us.
कहाँ से भेजे? मगर मेरा grievance है against
सर आप बुला लीजिए हम आ जाएंगे.
He has not kept his word.
Kashmiri Goshtaba is well known. Kashmiri Goshtaba is well known for the world.
वाजवान मुझे भेजा था.
Karju Sahab, Goshtaba Mughal Kashmir.
मुझे